I'll introduce him very briefly. Father Ciprian and I were at the seminary together. He preceded me. He arrived in 2002 from Sibiu, Romania, from which he came to complete his theological studies and to seek ordination in the Greek Archdiocese of America. He completed his bachelor's degree and then received his Master of Divinities with, I believe, highest honors, Father, as I recall, and then was assigned as the assistant to the parish of St. Nicholas and Holy Trinity in Cincinnati, Ohio, where he served for 4 years and then was reassigned and transferred to his new parish in Traverse City, Michigan, which a college classmate of mine assured me is the promised land.
God's land, yeah.
Nonetheless, the promised land has been blizzarding today, so Father has come to us through not so much fire, but definitely a great deal of ice. He began his pilgrimage at 8 o'clock, at 7 o'clock this morning, and after 4 hours of driving and 3 hours of flying and many more hours of waiting, he arrived here safely with us. Maria Moore, thank you.
Thank you.
So, Father is, of course, married. His presbytera, his Preotessa is Cynthiana. He has 2 children, Catherine and Anna. Anna is only 3 months old, but he has left them to come be with us. So please give him a warm welcome once more, and many thanks, Father.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for welcoming me. And after that presentation, no pressure whatsoever, right, Father? I was saying at the table that only a Romanian can cook beans with rice and potatoes and bread. That's so after such a great meal, if you fall asleep, I'm not going to take it personally. So, as Father Anthony said, the original plan is just, how God's plans are not the same with our plans. I think I prefer this like this. My original plan was I had a flight at 8 o'clock in the morning, get Detroit 10 o'clock, leave Detroit 12 o'clock, get Memphis 1 o'clock. Pretty straightforward. Relax, take a nap, and serve liturgy with Father Anthony. And it turned out that the 8 o'clock flight got iced in, so I was bumped to 11:45, which got canceled. And then I went back to 8 o'clock, which they couldn't put me back on, so I watched my plane leave without me. My options were to drive to Saginaw, so Saginaw is 3 hours south of Traverse City, so it was quite a journey, definitely. So I ended up coming through Minneapolis, and I made it here, so I'm so glad that I'm here. It's just a small snapshot of Lenten journey after a long period. I see here and I rejoice seeing your faces. And definitely, it must be the presentation because I've learned all kind of Lenten lessons on my way here. And probably my favorite is when I got off the airplane, I felt the welcoming smell of barbecue. And I said, good one, Father Anthony, bring me here in the first week of Lent. So I guess I have to come back for after Lent is over. But I'm glad that I made it, and I'm glad that, and I'm very humbled by having you inviting me to speak in this first week of Lent. And I'm sure that Father Anthony and previous priests have talked many times about Lent and about Easter. So I'm going to try to invite you to have a new perspective on the journey that we started on Monday. When we start a journey, we have to do a couple of things, right? We have to know clearly where we are heading. We have to understand the destination, and we have to actually start the journey. So probably thank you, President. I'm not going to give an Easter sermon. I'm sure more eloquent people have done that before in your lives. But Easter has so many names, and I think throughout the coming period we are all invited to really grasp the meaning of what Easter is. Why are we so excited about going? Why are we so excited about getting there? And I mean, just one little thing is Easter is called Death of Death. I mean, that has tremendous impact on our everyday life. Because if we believe that Christ is risen, like St. Paul said, died and raised, so also we are, in that has a tremendous impact on our everyday life, because we know that death is not senseless. It's not something terrible. It's not something absurd, really. So, starting the Lenten journey is really a personal and yet universal call. I'd like to share with you a quote from Bishop Nikolai, and he says, he's talking about the event that takes place in Jerusalem every Easter. I'm sure you know about that. He says, "We waited, and at last our expectations were fulfilled. When the patriarchs sang Christ is risen, a heavy burden fell from our souls. We felt as if we also had been raised from the dead. All at once, from all around, the same cry resounded like the noise of many waters. Christ is risen, sang the Greeks, the Russians, the Arabs, the Serbs, the Copts, the Armenians, the Ethiopians, one after another, each in his own tongue, each in his own melody. Coming out from the service at dawn, we began to regard everything in the light of the glory of Christ's resurrection, and all appeared different from what it had been yesterday. Everything seemed better, more expressive, more glorious. Only in the light of the resurrection does life receive meaning." So, a couple of things we see in this brief quote. The first part is that we waited, that kind of expectation, the kind of desire, the kind of living in the present things to come, that is building up and building up. And probably the beauty of this quote is that it reflects the universality of the message of the resurrection. And that's why I appreciate you as a parish inviting different people from different places to bring different perspectives. Coming from Romania, as Greece, has a large majority of Orthodox people. In Romania, they are 87% Orthodox. So to us, it's only natural to see Orthodox churches all over. And to us, it's odd, non-Orthodox. But here in the United States, things are different. We, as parishes around the country, we represent the whole Orthodox Church for that local community. And that makes sense even from the theological perspective. Because when a priest celebrates divine liturgy, in the divine liturgy we have the fullness of the church. We have the fullness of Christ, the one who is broken but not divided. So at the local community you do represent the fullness of the church. No matter if you are Memphis, Traverse City, Russia, Romania, Greece, no matter where, you represent at that time the local parish. That is a great blessing. However, it bears a risk that we become isolated members. We lose the bigger picture of the church. We lose that awareness that we are a member of something bigger, of something universal. So that is probably the best manifested on the day of the resurrection. And that's the beauty of this quote. Because on the day of resurrection is by excellence the great celebration of the universal resurrection. 300 million people, Orthodox Christians around the world, sing Christ is risen in their own language. And that's the beauty when we have the Agape Vespers on Sundays. We proclaim the gospel in everybody's or as many languages as we are able to. because truly the message of the resurrection is universal. And this unique ethnic experience in the Orthodox Church is unique in the sense that it's hard to draw a line and mark where ethnicity finishes and faith begins. Think about a Greek from Greece, brand new. It's hard to tell. It's almost abnormal to say, oh, he's Greek, but he's not Orthodox. Or if the same thing with Romanian, or the same thing with Russian. So I think here in the United States we have this unique challenge, but opportunity to redefine those notions. I come from a community in Traverse City which is very young. We received the full-time status only in 2007, so 4 years ago. And it is unique because we have samples of everybody. And as most, that's why I like to think about Traverse City as the prototype of the future Orthodox in the United States. Because you have the beauty, the flavor of ethnicity, yet letting the faith, the true richness, shine through. And with any flavor, if you put too much, it's not good. If you do too little, you lose it. So it's always finding that beautiful recipe, that beautiful balance. How much is too much and how little is not enough. And I think it's a journey that each parish has to take in their own pace, in their own organic change. By the way, during my presentation, if you have questions or if you want to interrupt with a question, please feel free to do so. So, the presence, an image that I like to use in talking about the difference between ethnicity and faith is, imagine that you have a beautiful jewel, a beautiful diamond, a precious thing that is our faith, the Orthodox faith. And our natural instinct with things that we treasure and with great very precious to us is that we want to decorate that, right? We want to put something beautiful around it. The problem is when the decorations are so many that take away from the beauty of the stone underneath it. So I think it's a beautiful journey of redefining our identity and celebrating our uniqueness, yet remaining faithful to who we are as Orthodox Christians. And we have these things. Another thing that makes us unique as Orthodox Christians is we immerse in our experience completely, body and soul. Everything is tangible, everything is experiential, everything is visible, yet the source, the depth is underneath. Think about all the services of the church. Even during Lent, all the hymns that we use have a direct reference to the resurrection. The journey, everything is visible, everything is almost a tangible experience, as I said. Imagine the climax of the Lenten journey is on the night of the resurrection. When we formally finish the Triodion period and we begin the Festal Triodion, the new period in our life, in our life of the church. It is very visible because you turn off the lights. It's like turning off the lights of Lent, and suddenly you turn on the lights of the resurrection. So it is available, it is perceivable, it is easy to understand if we immerse in the rhythm of the church. And we are dynamic. The life of the church is so dynamic because we are always in a movement between fasting and feasting. Fasting and feasting. That's the beauty that's one of the many things that make us unique as an Orthodox Church. You have the Lent, you have the resurrection. Then you have the Lent of St. Peter and Paul, then you have the feast. Then you go back to the Assumption, you rejoice. So everything is a dance. is a beautiful journey that we are all called to partake. So this is the jewel that we have. And then on top of this beautiful rhythm, on top of this flow, we decorate with ethnicity, with traditions, with cultures, which is nothing more than visible way of different people expressing their faith, their participation. And it all comes down, when we talk about Lent, we talk about the homecoming, going back to the original state of our foreparents, Adam and Eve. The whole Lenten journey is exactly that homecoming, in which the two elements that make us who we are become reconciled. We have the body and we have the soul. The Lenten period is the whole journey, the whole process during which these two elements are brought together. And I want you to keep this in mind and put it in a Lenten perspective. Think about the harmony between the body and the soul from the Lenten perspective, and how we approach Lent. Because of our fall, the harmony between the body and soul was destroyed, and we see that manifested in our understanding of Lent. See, Lent is a key to understand many things in life, because you have two movements when it comes to Lent. You have, on one side, a group of people who live Lent through their physical experience, and you have people who live Lent through intellectual or spiritual perspective. They are both good as long as they are together. They are both bad if they are alone. If we overemphasize the physical, we become like the Pharisees. If there was one thing that Christ hated, or probably didn't, that's a strong word to be used, but a theme that comes over and over again in Christ's words is exactly this hypocrisy. So in Lent, we are called to rebuild, to reconcile our body and our soul, to rebuild that harmony. No matter how much we want to say that it's not true, our spiritual experience is being affected by the environment, and probably even so much more here in the Bible Belt. We don't like to recognize it, but we see things that are definitely an influence from the Western mind. In the Catholic Church, the Western mind, probably until around 500 years ago, the Lenten experience was similar. Then we saw a process in which the physical discipline became more lax, and the argument or the excuse was that was an overemphasis on the spiritual, intellectual aspect of it. And the problem is that we make faith, we make our experience something immaterial, something non-physical, which cannot be farther from the truth. We believe that the body is the temple of the Holy Spirit. We believe that we worship with our body. We believe that the body is good. Okay, remember, we do not agree with the Western mind that the body is something bad or something that we have to beat on. We believe that the body is the temple of God, the temple of the Holy Spirit. So see the separation between these two perspectives is very dangerous because it builds a separation between body and soul. The other extreme, when we emphasize the physical aspect of it, is that we become so technical and so legalistic in our approach. And then you'll have the yaya coming up and say, Father, how come you can eat olives but you can eat olive oil? Or how many doors fit in a needle? Or, you become so legalistic in the approach that you're losing the bigger image. Then we'll have people say, well, the rules are so complex. The rules of fasting and Lent are so, really they don't fit in our daily experience. And of course the Lent has become almost like for the monastics or for the priests or for those people, because we live in our, we live in the world. We don't live in your world. And I beg to differ, because if we look at the people from before us, they didn't have an easier life than we do. And they definitely didn't have the options that we do. So this growing separation between body and soul in the Lenten experience is also seen in probably one of very popular excuse that, it doesn't matter what goes in the mouth, it's what comes out of the mouth. And that's probably the most common excuse. But my question is, if you can't control what's going in, how much more difficult it is to control what's going out? Because if you eat, Lenten or non-Lenten, your hunger is satisfied and we move on. But how much more difficult is how to control what comes out naturally. So the reason why I spend so much time on this issue is that we have to see the bigger perspective of Lent. We have to see the Lent as an opportunity for us to rebuild that harmony between the body and the soul. To recognize that Lent is an opportunity for us to go home, to enjoy the harmony that Adam and Eve enjoyed in Garden of Eden. That is the prototype that we try to achieve during our Lenten discipline. Another thing that I'm sure that you heard it, and talking about being influenced by the social and cultural environment, is that, well, Father, this Lent I will give up chocolate. I'm sure how many of you heard this this expression. I'm sure Father Anthony heard it a few times too many. What's the problem with that? I mean, it is a discipline because you really love chocolate. I mean, I'm just taking this as a random example because I think it's the most popular example. It takes discipline, true. It's giving up something for God, true-ish. So what's the problem with it? Well, the problem is that action of giving up something becomes the ultimate goal of the Lenten journey. The problem is that we are limited not only to the physical aspect of the Lenten experience, more than that, we are limited to one slice of that experience. So we have to fully immerse. If we want to, we should give up something for Lent. And we, as a church, suggest what we have to give up. And it says many times during the liturgy, our whole life to Christ our God. That's exactly what we are asked to give up. If we are to choose one thing to give up, that's exactly what we are asked to. Let us commit ourselves to one another and our whole life to Christ our God. It's not how much, it's all or nothing, really. In my interactions, I like to challenge the very basics of things. why do we fast in the beginning, in the first place? What is the higher end of it? If we go back to the image of Adam and Eve, what they lack was obedience, but it's also a sense of dependency on God. By becoming weak in our body through the Lenten experience, by becoming almost tired, what we actually do is we destroy something so that we can build from ground up. Now, one of the Beatitudes is that are blessed those poor in spirit. That's what we do. We destroy everything that keeps us so that we can build something. So Lenten experience is also a creative journey. It's something we take something old, something corrupted, we destroy it so that we can build something new, something worthy of the light of the resurrection. And those of you who have fasted before, you know that you have a sense of lightness when you fast. Not tonight, generally. Because I was joking with Father Anthony at the table. I said my topic should have been tonight how to break fast with Lenten food. Actually, that brings up a question that I want to quickly address is what we should do when we are invited somewhere and we observe fast and we are offered something, or basically how to fast with non-Lenten food. And it's all about quantity, it's all about discipline. I'm going to let Father Anthony talk about it in his sermons. I'm not going to take that. But anyway, so basically finally the third element in the Lenten experience is giving alms. We cannot make it a physical experience. We cannot make an immaterial intellectual endeavor, and we cannot experience the Lenten journey unless we become more generous. I think it was Saint Seraphim, I'm not sure exactly who said that by not eating so much, you don't buy so much food, so you have enough money left over for the poor. Sorry about that. So, two things prevent us from taking this plunge. The first one is if we approach Lent as our gift to God, we got it all wrong. That goes back to I got it, I have water. Actually, in Italy, there was a sect called the Pelagian group who said that our fasting, our efforts are our gift to God, and that's how we earn anything. And that attitude is very destructive, because nothing good is that doesn't come from God. So even the saints have beautiful prayers. They were praying for tears. They were praying for repentance. They were praying that God to give them what they are lacking, even in their Lenten experience, in the Lenten journey. So everything comes from God, including our Lenten journey, our Lenten opportunity. Another extreme that we might experience is that Lent becomes this gloom It's all about gloom and doom. It's all about beating ourselves. It's all about depriving ourselves. It's all about abstaining from things that we enjoy. Well, Lent in the Orthodox understanding has a sense of joy. It is a unique paradox, because it's the joy creating sorrow. I mean, that's what God did. He took our notions and made paradoxes of them. Because think about even on Good Friday, the priest doesn't wear black, at least not in the Greek Orthodox experience. Because even on Good Friday, we worship with a sense of hope and joy for the upcoming resurrection. One of the best phrases that I've heard to describe that feeling is that we are a faith of the empty tomb. We are a faith of the empty tomb. We acknowledge the tomb, because without the tomb there is no resurrection. But we acknowledge that the tomb was emptied, because the creator of life could not be contained by death. So we are always called to have the bigger picture. We are always called to have to develop this theological literacy, if you will. We grew up doing things which were great. I think unless you were blessed like myself to be born in a priestly family, I think the greatest theologian of the Orthodox households is the yaya, is the grandmother, because she represents that stronghold of faith. It may not be as elaborate as a theologian, but the core was there. So I challenge you to take what we do, ask the right questions, grow from it so that we understand why do we do the things that we do. Going back to the shift of dynamics in the in the beginning of this brief presentation, when ethnicity during the first 2, 3, 4, 6 generations will diminish, we are called to light the true knowledge of God. Just like on the day of the resurrection, when the lights go down, dimming out, a brighter and more powerful light comes. And that's exactly what we are called to. We are called to each individually make a commitment to learn more about our faith with the right amount of flavor. Remember what we said, that flavor makes the experience unique. And above all, we should feel extremely blessed for having come and having grown up maybe, or having come to such a rich faith as our Orthodox faith. You know, one of the jokes is how many Orthodox people take to change a light bulb? Change? Why change? But all kidding aside, that's our strength. And that's the proof of a living entity. Because the change in our church occurs. But the change is organic. The change is not forced. The change takes its time. I'm sure that if St. John Chrysostom would see liturgy today, he might be a little surprised that how it evolved. But yet, it is the same worship since 4th century. And that's our strength. And we fail to recognize that sometimes what frustrates us is what makes us stronger. That consistency, that unique thing that we have to offer our non-Orthodox brethren. They seek this, and we have it. And we can no longer afford to be sitting on such a treasure and not share it. You know, a faith lived selflessly, we are not worthy of it. So I know it's late, so I'm not going to keep longer because I want to take any questions if there are any. But I want to invite you to really, really take this year's Lenten experience as a challenge, as an opportunity. If you fasted before, make your fasting more meaningful. If you have never fasted before, do it, just do it. It's hard to say, well, maybe not this year, maybe next year. It is important not to do it by yourself. I have to double check. I have all this. Yeah, there is no I in Orthodox. I have to double check because I never thought of that before. We do it. Everything we do is a family event. It's a family endeavor. Don't do it by yourself. It's much more difficult taking a journey in a marathon without a coach. Use your available clergy. Use Father Anthony. Use Father. Use them as guides, because Lent is not black and white. The church has this unique opportunity or chance to fit you where you are. You know, if observing that all the restrictions of Lent is difficult in the first year, do it just without meat the first year. But the rule is that the next year to do something more. Because it's not about how much you do, it's just how much you progressed. And you'll be surprised if you take this leap of faith. You'll be surprised by the limitless resources that discipline has in our lives, spiritually and otherwise. And if you look at any disciplined person that you know in your lives, discipline about health, about any discipline, they are stronger. And that's exactly what we do. I was reading an article saying that if there was an experiment that for an extended period of time, people were asked to do something that required a strong willpower. You know, just for example, use left hand for everything or something like that. And they noticed a change in their brain in which they were more able to focus. And I mean, it takes 2,000 years for the doctors to confirm what we've always known. You know, the benefits for our body and for our souls of spiritual discipline. We are tremendously resourceful. Use it, and God will repay you. So, yes.
I heard somebody say last week, a Protestant person, that it's not just important during Lent to empty yourself, but it's important what you try to put in its place to fill yourself. And I was wondering if you think the Orthodox perspective emphasizes more the emptying and less the filling, or is it the same idea?
It's all about, once you'll through discipline, once you allow yourself to be filled with the Holy Spirit, once you allow your heart to be filled with God, it multiplies and it fills your heart and it overflows around to the people around you. So it is about an emptying just so that we can become filled with something else. We have to empty ourselves first to allow the Holy Spirit to fill our hearts. So one test that it is suggested is if you cannot stand in prayer, you ate too much. That's the whole point. It's becoming that lightness. And just when you consider the benefits, during the Lenten period, we said, we Lent. By the time of Holy Week, you are sick and tired of salads and shrimps and all the Lenten food. And then you can wait for the overindulging of Sunday morning when you eat and eat and eat and eat. And in that afternoon you said, oh boy, you have the crush. I really miss that little Lenten diet. We say, oh, I can't believe it's over already. Do you experience that feeling? It is the joy that discipline brings. Does that answer? Does it address your questions? Okay. Do you have any other comments, questions? Yes.
So one of the things, I know when being here in the South, everyone says, well, in the Bible Belt and all. The curious thing that I have seen in the 25 years that I've been here is that in many of the Protestant churches, people are looking for fasting. There's a Baptist church down the street from us here that I go by a couple times a day sometimes, and they have, they always have a sign out for something. In the last couple of years, they've started having vesper services. They've started having a Baptist church, it's First Baptist down in Parkway.
A satellite church,
It
probably.
is a different way of being a Baptist. And I know Mickey has seen it because we live in the same neighborhood area. They had Ash Wednesday. They had fasting, and some of the residents at the hospital were telling me, well, what they were going to fast from for Lent, and they were using that terminology. They weren't Catholics, they weren't Orthodox, but it's curious to me how that.
Scary, isn't it?
Well, it's curious how you see it creeping in black churches. They're very vocal about how they want their people to fast now.
Well,
So have you seen that?
yes, because my only comment to that is that if you think that physical hunger is unbearable, just think how unbearable spiritual hunger is. That's something that I experienced when I came to the United States. I experienced in my interactions with non-Orthodox or non-believers, they are seekers. They seek for content. They seek for true knowledge. One of my parishioners said that I discovered Orthodoxy, and I would go there once in a while, but I would still attend my regular church. And I would go there, I enjoyed the fellowship, but I left hungry. I went to the Orthodox church, I didn't know many people, but I left filled, talking about being filled with the worship experience. And of course, if you think that physical hunger is uncomfortable, you can quench that thirst. You can take care of that hunger. But it takes much more than a burger or a steak to fill the spiritual hunger. And that stays with you. That stays for a week, for a month, for a year, and you search. And that comes with a great responsibility for us, for each one of us. The hymn, taste and see. That's exactly what we are asked to do. So I wouldn't be surprised, and I've already seen it, the tendency of going back to more traditional understanding of spiritual life, because it's going back to that harmony between body and soul. We have to take some of the physical comforts to achieve spiritual comfort, because that's how we are wired. That's how God made us. The harmony that was destroyed by sin, we are called to rebuild it and bring it together. As long as, like St. Augustine says, my heart is restless until it rests in you, O Lord, because you have created me unto you. That's our wiring, that's our design, to always long for God, to always hunger and thirst for God. And we have it, we know. We just have to learn how to share the recipe and to enjoy it ourselves. Yes?
One of the comments that you made was about how we live in a time where there's so many efficiencies in our life. We've got cell phones and we've got computers, and there's so many things in our life that make it a little bit easier. Why can't we, do more in fasting? compared to 100, 200, 300, 500 years ago, where perhaps life was maybe a little bit more challenging. I think that right now it's extremely challenging to be focused and separate this time of the year out and bringing yourself back into it. I just think it's absolutely amazing now that, you know, we are now commercializing Lent by offering up fish at Wendy's. What's really ironic about it is most of the people down here in the South probably don't realize that the reason they're doing that is because there are people that actually fast on fish. They just think it's just a special promotion at this time of the year. But, you know, for me, it's like, oh, great, they've got their fish sandwiches right in time for Lent, you know. But I've got, you know, just as many friends who kind of don't put that correlation together. And then you've got, you know, I had 3 different friends approach me in the past week. Hey, it's time to buy Boston butts. We're going to serve it to you at your home at the end of March, nice and warm. And, you know, and having to deal with those raffle things and so much with, you know, kids playing, you know, sports. And it's really difficult to just try to really put a shelter around you in your world and keep some of those things out and pull yourself into this special time. And I find that every year, rather than as I'm getting older, I would think that those challenges would be lesser and easier to overcome. And yet I still find myself being even more and more challenged at kind of putting some protection around my family, myself, to say, okay, this is the time of year that we're going to focus on our Lent. But it's extremely challenging.
Well, I think what changed in the last decades is definitely not the amount of people committed to their spiritual life. As long as the world will exist, there will be good Christians. I don't think that we suffer of a loss of good Christian people. What changed, though, I think, because of the instant communication and because of the amount of communication which exists, the world has become louder. We have to shout so that we can hear ourselves. We have to use bright colors so that we can transmit the message. I mean, if there is anybody in the room working in the marketing field, you know that the world has become louder. But you know what? God is that tender lover that whispers. God doesn't shout. God doesn't yell. God doesn't have to use the big billboards to make himself heard. So unless we find that peace, that tranquility in our lives, so that we can hear his tender whisper to ourselves, we're not going to be able to perceive him. So again, it's a discipline, it's a journey of being able to let aside all worldly cares, so that we may receive the King of all, invisibly and by angelic hosts, the cherubic hymn. So it is not that the world has changed; it just got louder. So it takes maybe a little more effort to be focused on achieving that quiet in our lives that allows us to hear God. God hasn't changed. People haven't changed. I meet people who observe fast strictly, and they have an inspiring spiritual life in our world. It's definitely possible. It's definitely Lent and Orthodoxy is definitely not reserved for monastic establishments or from them. The question is, if they can do it, why can't I? It's all about coming back to our personal experience. And if we say that, oh, nobody does it, well, just because we think that nobody does it is not true. Because people do it. People share and enjoy the fruits of Lent every day. Even if we have it, we've had it forever, and we don't use it, it's our loss because other people seek it, other people share hunger for it. It's just, again, it's a discipline of quieting the world around us so we can hear. It's encouraging. Do not get discouraged in this world. Do not. I know it's tempting to get discouraged. Don't. Know that God is the Lord. Know that many will come just Monday was the gospel, that many will come in my name saying that I am He. Don't follow them. No, know who you are. And that's again going back to the importance of discovering our identity as Orthodox people. Know who you are and don't listen to others. Don't follow others because they are louder. Yes.
Father, your parish now is, as you said, a young mission, and therefore it's doing now that work of building an identity, especially I like the image of the diamond that we adorn with different jewels around it. This community, if I can say, because I'm still new, kind of stands in a similar place, but after a 100-year history. Of the people in the room, can I see a show of hands? How many are Greeks? And then everyone else, we have, obviously the Romanians here. We have many converts, many
Classic Romanians.
who have married into the church in one fashion or another. But even the number of Greeks, how many speak Greek on a regular basis?
Mm-hmm.
Can I see hands for that too? So, and this of course is normal, but this parish, more than any that I've encountered yet, functions as very much a melding of cultural traditions. And there's a certain degree to which it's not automatic, it's not instinctive any longer. What are those adornments?
Mm-hmm.
From your experience in your parish, building that to a certain degree from the ground up, how do we go about solidifying our identity as Orthodox Christians and as a community, as a family, despite our different backgrounds?
Well, in Traverse City, we had an event, and I said to one of the parishioners there, I said, you know what, I wish, it was a great attendance, but mostly our parishioners. And I said to him, no, I wish that more non-parishioners would have come. And the answer that he gave me said, Father, I think God prepares us to receive them. So talking about building a community, finding the identity which is welcoming and just perspire that philanthropia, that philoxenia, that welcoming attitude. And I think the well-established parishes have that. And it is a tool. You can use it selfishly, oh, it's us, go away. Or, it's our family, welcome. So you have it, you can use it both ways. You can use it for the growth of the parish, or you can use it for the separation of the parish from the world. So I wouldn't underestimate the power of a well-established community, because you are already the good ground, the fertile ground for receiving others. So from your perspective, you are blessed because you know who you are. It's just sharing who you are with others, and people come to it. And I think studies show that within the first 30 seconds, a newcomer will know if he feels welcomed or not, even before anybody talks to him. And you have that sense of family and sense of belonging that younger parishes are still building. In any Greek parish, Greek Orthodox parish I've been, everybody is related to everybody somehow, if not by blood, by kumbaria. I mean, it's just a given. Somebody is somebody's cousin, or kumbari, or nuna, or nuna. So that is a beautiful advantage, a beautiful strength. Even think about festivals, okay? It's a powerful message to the local community. The risk there is, what kind of message do you use? Do you use the festival as an opportunity to communicate something more? Or are we all about the dolmades and our food and our ethnicity? These are tools. And I think as long as we're willing to learn how to use them, we're going to have a very, very good future in the United States. And I'm really hopeful and joyous about the opportunity that we have ahead of us. Blame it on my age, I guess. But I'm still very, very optimist. Young. Yeah, give him a few years. He'll come to his senses. I hope not. Yeah. Any other questions, comments, or? Yes. I'm sorry.
Say something briefly about the hierarchy of hospitality
How to, when I said that how to break fast with Lenten food, you can still observe fast with meat, believe it or not. Now that I'm recommending it, but know one thing. The local priest is the supreme authority in the parish. So if you have any questions about Lenten rules, address Father Anthony. What I can do is share something that I learned from my Protestamentos, from Father Bill, as ways or tricks, if you will, to address that issue. For example, if you are invited to a place where they don't serve Lenten food, what do? Do you say, are you Pharisaic? Are you a Pharisee that's, I'm fasting? Or you graciously and humbly accept their hospitality? It's all about the perception, the approach. If you take a piece of non-Lenten food and you have half of it and you leave the table still hungry, I don't think that you break the fast. If you say ham, the father said that I can have because I want to respect their hospitality, and you jump and you can't you roll from the table, you broke the fast. Well, just as you could do with Lenten food. If you overindulge in Lenten food, you still break the fast. So the bottom line is that we have to be genuine about our Lenten experience. We have to be honest about it. We cannot catch God in a technicality, It's like that joke when the little Catholic boy said that, sister, is it true that you have to give up something for Lent? Yes. Well, I really like going to church. And she goes, well, I guess you caught God in a technicality, It's all about being honest and genuine. We can't play games because it's detrimental for our own good and for our salvation. And you'll know if you broke the fast or not when you eat. You'll know, because I think God put in ourselves the voice of conscience. So.
God definitely broke it tonight.
What's that?
I definitely broke it tonight.
Well, that's what I said. After so much food and good meals, yeah.
I'll put it.
You'll make it up, huh? If you started Lent on Monday, again, good for you. If you start tonight, Lent, good for you. If you start next week, good for you. Remember the sermon of St. John Chrysostom in the night of resurrection. But don't use it as an excuse. I'm all about being genuine and honest. And ultimately, that's our invitation, that's our call.
That's when I used to come to church. I used to
The 11th hour? Yeah, like Father Kalivas would say, the drive-through church.
We changed that.
Yes. Okay. All right. Anything else? Any other comments? Questions? All right. Well, thank you very much for...